in this past week?
Well, to be quite honest, I tell you, I've had a case of the flu, I guess. I don't ache, I don't hurt, don't nothing. I just was I'm walking up the steps and I was out of gas.
Walking up the steps and you're out of gas. I've heard that's been going around. I had a little bit of...
Is that the symptom? Because like I said, I didn't have a body ache or nothing.
It was kind of in my lungs, I couldn't breathe. Yeah. And I had this cough. I never had the temperature, but did you get the flu shot?
No.
I got the flu shot. So the flu shot just allows you to just get sick enough to where you can go to work, but you're not, contagious.
Yeah.
So you get all the symptoms. You just don't have the fever. You don't have the pain.
Are you sure part of that's not from old age? Because, that happened yesterday.
Yeah, I have to change my stories now that I'm 43 as of yesterday. I'd like to thank everybody that wished me a happy birthday.
Got that ice cream cake?
Got the ice cream cake delivered at work, actually.
With the crunchy stuff in the middle layer?
Absolutely. Mom dropped it by at work because she knew I had the duties last night on WRCY AM with the call as Carmi versus Mount Vernon. So I was spending my birthday evening in Carmi at the Carmi White County Invitational, flying solo, but it's a good game, 5-point loss for Mount Vernon there, but that Carmi White County Invitational, 40th anniversary edition, a lot of good basketball going on there. I know you and I will be there tomorrow night, 5:15, the pregame show on AM 1590 with the tip-off set for 5:30, and that's another opportunity. But, it's...
Saturday, we got two games then, too. Saturday morning and Saturday evening, I think.
As long as Snowmageddon doesn't come, you see those reports coming in. You're in that time of January where you start dealing with that cold because I believe Sunday on the back edge of that system, it's going to start getting down to single digits here in the tri-state area.
Yeah, and, people get a little bit of a false sense of security when one like last weekend just didn't quite materialize. Well, this one, it could just blow your socks off. So just be ready and be sensible, people, and take care.
Why don't you let everybody know who's going to be joining us at the bottom of the hour? We've got a special guest, a very special guest.
Absolutely. One of my favorite big uglies of all time, Steve Risley, former IU basketball player, holder of a 1979 NIT championship ring with a victory over Purdue, and then 2 years later, the 1981 NCAA championship.
What was it like? I mean, now, I was around in 79, but when IU and Purdue get together for an NIT championship, what was that like living in southwestern Indiana? I mean, what was the climate like?
Well, I was in Bloomington. That was my senior year, and I tell you, it was the IU-Purdue rivalry on steroids, I guess you'd say. It was just phenomenal.
Where was the game?
It was in Madison Square Garden.
Okay, that's what I thought.
This was back when the NIT had some legs still, and there were.
Well, I believe the Final Four of the NIT is still in the Madison Square Garden.
Yeah, it is. It is, but it did have some good prestige in it at that time, and like I said, it was just phenomenal. I can remember Mike Woodson got the ball at the top of the key, Butch Carter had it at the top of the key, threw it to Woodson just below the free throw line. Woody was a phenomenal shooter. Couldn't get a shot off. Back to Carter at the top of the key. He line drived one in the basket, gave us the lead, and Purdue got the last possession. Jerry Seasting took one from deep in the left corner, high off the rim, so one of those that gives you two chances.
Yeah.
And Ray Tolbert went up and grabbed the rebound on the second.
Now, were you actually at the game, or
no? I was sitting on the front edge of a chair, a regular recliner, and bloodied my knuckles on the ceiling when the buzzer went off by accident. But that was one of those spontaneous explosions.
That's like something that you would think would happen when you're in college, that you have a spontaneous bloody the knuckle celebration.
It was one of those sprayed ceilings, so it was textured, and I'm not a very tall person, but I could jump, and I got.
This was before the tiny house revolution, I would imagine.
Yes, absolutely. But it was it was really phenomenal. Now I didn't go down to there's a fountain or two in town, and one main fountain that people tend to go and get baptized in, shall we say.
Is that what you call it when they?
Yeah.
So, judging by championships equaling baptism up there in Bloomington, it's been a while since some people have been baptized, right?
Yeah, it has. But
so, did you admit to your friends up there that you spent the first 2 years of college at that other institution up 231?
Actually, both of my colleges played that game, so I did go to Purdue.
Did you have one of those split shirts that you had Purdue on one side? And
no, I do not own any black.
As you wear your Indiana University sweatshirt T-shirt here for Game Day IQ.
That's right. So if I speak disparagingly about Purdue, it's from my own experience.
Well, we're up on our first break. I think that's a good stopping point. We'll come back. We're going to take a brief time out, and we'll be right back to see who's on the bench this week with Coach Alan Buck. We're going to take a brief time out. You're listening to Game Day IQ on Fox Sports Radio, Evansville.
I'm 44 News Chief Meteorologist Cameron Hopman. I grew up here in the Midwest, so I know the weather here is completely fascinating. I love dissecting how weather systems and patterns are all interconnected, the storms, the humidity, the winds. When you turn to 44 News, you'll get more than just a 7-day forecast. I'll give you a narrative of how and when the weather will be impacting you. Thank you to everyone for welcoming me to the Tri-State. I'm so proud to call this place home.
Chief Meteorologist Cameron Hopman, weeknights on 44 News, focused on family and the community.
The Thrifty Nickel is your #1 classified paper in the Tri-State in print and online. Let us sell your unwanted items today with our combo package, which includes your ad in print on our website, EvansvilleThriftyNickel.net, where thousands of people are going daily, and also on all of our social media. Call us today, 812-428-8484. That's your Thrifty Nickel, 812-428-8484.
This is The Odd Couple.
My point is this.
Here's my point.
With Chris Broussard and Rob Parker.
When you can go on the road and beat good teams, it tells you about your makeup. And let's not forget, the Raptors were good last year. I know people forget because they got swept out for the second year in a row. They were already a good team a year ago. And then you add Kawhi Leonard and Danny Green, right?
I'm not the least bit surprised at the Raptors' success.
No, I picked them over the Celtics despite thinking what the young guys had done with the Celtics. Yeah. And then you add Kyrie and Gordon Hayward back to the mix. Everybody thought automatically it was going to be Boston.
But I think there's this misconception out there that the Raptors aren't a playoff team. I believe their problem has been LeBron James. I don't think like they would have been shook by Boston or some other team. I think they could have beaten any other team in the East.
This is The Odd Couple with Chris Broussard and Rob Parker.
Weekday evenings at 6 p.m. here on Fox Sports Evansville 106.7.
Tune in Monday nights at 6 o'clock for the Walter McCarty Show live from Tirone's on Weinbach in Evansville. Your sneak peek inside the UE basketball program exclusively on this Purple Aces Sports Network station. Fox Sports Evansville 106.7 WYFX.
Will eventually dry out overnight, 33-year overnight low temperature in Evansville. We'll see a dry day for our Friday, 43-year high temperature in the River City. We'll see scattered cloud cover throughout the day before rain chances arrive early Saturday morning with temperatures in the upper 30s. We'll at 45 degrees Saturday afternoon with that continuing rain chance throughout the morning, the early afternoon. By the late afternoon, early evening, however, snowfall makes its way back into the Tri-State. For 44 News, I'm Chief Meteorologist Cameron Hopman.
Welcome back, Game Day IQ, Fox Sports Radio, Evansville, online at WYFXFM.com. Chris Cooke, Alan Buck, leading you through another voyage of raising your Game Day IQ. Alan, you staying in the seat over there? We're getting a little funky here to get the show off, right?
I like this music. This is pretty
I figured
nice.
You would. Does it take you back to 1979 like you were talking about before the break?
Yeah, something like that, yeah.
You know, it's been a few weeks since we've had the opportunity to do Game Day IQ. I see that there's still a plentiful supply of rocking chairs at the local Cracker Barrel, so I didn't know if you went on too many rants, but who are we going to put on the bench this week? I know it's been a while.
It has. Tell you what, I ran across something. I want to go ahead and get this out there first. I just thought this was the coolest thing. You remember, well, you don't remember, but the first Major League Baseball game televised was a regional broadcast. It was in New York City in 1939. Not a big deal. However, because there weren't many TVs around anyway. Well, move fast forward some. In 1951, that's when some games were being televised coast to coast. In August was when the first one went coast to coast. And it follows then that just 2 months later, in October of 1951, one of the earliest games being broadcast coast to coast was the shot heard round the world. The New York Giants, Bobby Thompson's ninth inning 3-run home run, which beat the Brooklyn Dodgers for the NL pennant. and that was one of the earliest games. And I ran across that, and I had to do some research to find out. No, it was not the first, but like I said, the first one was in August, and it was in October. So it was one of the very earliest coast-to-coast broadcasts.
Could you imagine what they had to go through back then to make that broadcast happen with the technology they had?
Yeah, well, what the earlier games, like that 1939 when they had two still cameras. One was from the third base side, so it got put out throws across the infield to first base, and the other one was high above home plate, so it got the pitch and then the bat and all. And now it said the swing of the bat looked like a flutter going across the screen, and the ball was basically invisible with the pitch and the hit because of that. I mean, it was black and white, and
what, do you have any idea what the cost of a television would have been in the 1950s? Because I have it pulled up here now that the Google machine's working again.
I have no idea. But I know there were about 400 of them in the metro New York area in 1939.
You're talking for like a 1951, a GE black and white tabletop, 17-inch screen, $289 in 1951 dollars.
That's a lot.
I don't have the conversion table up, but you're looking. In 1951, there wasn't a color option, but it just seemed like the color option started to become available, according to this website, in 1956 for a 21-inch tabletop RCA color television. You're talking $495 in 1956.
Wow. Can you imagine what that Bobby Thompson game, the shot heard around the world, what that did for TV sales? Because
that's what I'm saying.
That would have been phenomenal.
Well, it made the cost go down.
Sure it did.
So, sorry, I was going to calculate the inflation for you real quick. If you take $495 from 1956 and go to 2018, what do you think that would be in 2018 dollars?
Let's see, about $4,000.
Close, $4,553.34 in 2018.
I like the way prices are gone for TVs nowadays. Hey, we've talked before about the hooliganism in soccer over in jolly old England and such. Here's a quote for you. Some people believe football is a matter of life and death. I'm very disappointed with that attitude. I can assure you it is much, much more important than that. And that was a quote from a man named Bill Shankly. He was a Scottish gentleman, and he played professional soccer, but is best known for coaching Liverpool and rebuilding it into a first division powerhouse. Hence, this quote is about European soccer and not American football. So you see where that over-the-top dedication comes from this type of an attitude. And he was Bill Shankly was he was a very good coach and all, but that was his attitude. So I thought you would appreciate that.
Absolutely,
the way we talked
absolutely.
About it. So without further ado, I'll get to your bench feature, and this is something.
It's our bench feature. Yeah, I mean you're an integral part of that.
We this one, as you know. I mean, I'm real picky about the way the games are played, and celebrations can take place later.
I got that on record.
Yeah. So Casey Hayward Jr., the cornerback of the Los Angeles Chargers. As y'all know by now, that obviously I believe the team comes first, far ahead of any player's ego and individual hot dogging. Well, do you remember the play late in the game? Well, let me finish. I should finish. I don't want to digress, but I get so upset about this, the way this played out on during the game, and it fortunately played out the way it should have anyway. But I believe in finishing the play and acting like a professional, one who expects to make the play, and you're comfortable with the knowledge that the fans are going to recognize your talents, as opposed to this era's look at me celebrations at everything from a good block to a pass breakup. Maybe I'm in the minority, but I think playing the game comes first and foremost. And Hayward almost gave last week's playoff game away by celebrating before the play was over. And the play in question occurred in the fourth quarter of the playoff game between the Ravens and the Chargers, with the Chargers leading 23-10. Okay, facing a fourth down that could decide the game in favor of the Chargers, and having to reach the 1-yard line to get a first down, Lamar Jackson of the Ravens found Michael Crabtree with a perfect pass in the front right corner of the end zone. You remember that play?
Mm-hmm.
So he was coming back. Crabtree was coming back towards his QB. So when he caught the ball, he fell out of the end zone. He landed at the 2-yard line. Well, Hayward started jumping up and down, signaling that he'd just made the greatest play in the history of cornerbacks everywhere. Meanwhile, the call on the field was no touchdown for the Ravens, and Crabtree, who was lying on the 2-yard line, untouched, rolled over and crawled to the half-yard line before another Chargers player touched him, thereby stopping his progress. So that was good enough for first down. So if the call on the field stood, it's Ravens ball 1st and goal at the half-yard line instead of Chargers ball on the 2 because of Hayward jumping up and down and not playing football but celebrating, me. And, it was pure ego versus team performance and doing your job. So that's why I wanted him to sit down and let's learn a few things. Now, as it happened, they reviewed the play and rightfully reversed the call. It was a touchdown. So it did put the Ravens in position then to get the ball back and potentially win the game, which didn't happen. But still, you saw the play. Do you remember him and Crabtree crawling on the ground to gain that 1.5 yards and get the first down? And how in heaven's name? Because that was a 4th down play.
I know.
So how in heaven's name do you get? If my 12-year-old did that, this is a long time ago when I had a 12-year-old, I'd have busted his chops. You just don't do that. So there's a lot of head scratching with some of these folks in the playoffs, and it's not just the playoffs; it's in the NFL in general. The common sense. Act like you've been there before. And the quote I had a few weeks ago about Michael Courier, from Michael Courier, the former tennis player, that he said, something about you should when a man walks off the court, you shouldn't be able to tell if he won or lost by the way he carries himself, because you carry yourself with class and dignity whether you win or you lose. And these players nowadays, my God, the celebration is more important than actually making the play, and it's doing your job. It's what's expected of you.
Well, was it when the Colts player was doing a suggestive celebration in the playoff game last Saturday and didn't realize the official was right there and was gyrating his hips in a manner that he shouldn't have been.
Elvis proud.
And he didn't pull out. He didn't pull back. He didn't kind of put the brakes on. He was already into it about 2 or 3 rotations, and the flag came up. I mean, that's a mental break. And, he deserved it, but it's like, what are you thinking?
You give away. You might give away field position if it's one of those that's going to be assessed on a kickoff, for instance, or maybe you just made a big first down, or maybe you just sacked the opponent or whatever, and then all of a sudden you give it away.
It's the me first movement here in society. The instant gratification. Everybody has to be a social media star. They have to have the clip. And it just seems like you're starting to see that more and more in the play on the field in the NFL, in the decision-making process, where people are more concerned about their individual stats and how they look individually than the good well-being of the team, let alone the fact that you're in a playoff game. The playoffs, how many players play their entire career at any sport and never get the opportunity to play in a single playoff game, let alone, a second-round game?
Exactly.
A divisional round game.
Exactly. And as long as you're alive in those playoffs, you have a chance to play in the Super Bowl. And so you want to do something stupid and potentially give away a game?
Well,
that's anyway. So let's go get a rocking chair.
I'm not. I told somebody recently. They're like, "Tell me about this rocking chair." I said, "Well, I'm going to give Alan Buck a Sharpie, and he's going to walk down that line at Cracker Barrel, and he's going to make all those rocking chairs priceless with just a stroke of his pen, and we're going to be able to help that Cracker Barrel here locally get their sales up on them rocking chairs, because that way." You too can listen at home from the comfort of said rocking chair when Alan Buck goes on one of his signature rants, and know that you have that signature series rocking chair that Mr. Buck prefers.
I need a little brass plate. A friend of mine owns a trophy shop. I'll have to go get a little plaque.
And put some lacquer over it or some sort of sealant over your signature so you could just bolt it on to know that it's original.
That would be my seat on the end.
Okay. So yours is going to have a brass plate.
So it distinguishes.
I pictured you were going to start hand signing these and hand numbering them to where if you had a low number, you're going to be worth more on eBay, if you know what I mean.
That's a good idea.
Let me tell you,
You're
the best.
Marketing
No,
genius.
I'll tell you the market. Yeah, I'm glad somebody believes that. There's a lot of folks out there, and I'll leave it at that question my genius. But if you're ever wanting like one of those gag gifts in the Christmas season when you're playing the Dirty Santa games, and you got a dollar amount, here's a little trick old Cooke's going to tell you about. What you got to do is say the amount's $10 or $15. Go buy a $10 or $15 frame, a nice little frame at the store. Yep. Go get a picture of yourself in color doing some pose, autograph the picture, put it in the frame, and then to add more to it to make it priceless and raise its value, individually number it. And then give a certificate of authenticity that you print up on your said computer, and then wrap that up in a dirty gift contest. You're going to be the talk of that party for the rest of the night.
Yeah, from the Eagle of Chris Cooke. Oh, my goodness.
I've been known to do it. There might be about 8 or 9 of those floating around in the greater Evansville area, but it's a couple people still have them on their mantle, actually, because it is priceless. It raises their value of their home. They can put that on eBay. There's a limited number.
Yeah.
I mean, really, if you're ever looking for, if you just need one of those $1 million ideas, it's GameDayIQ at gmail.com. You can get a hold of Alan and myself.
While we're on that here, this will humble you a little bit. Here's a quote that'll hit home with you. It's from Jimmy Demerit, a golf legend. Golf and sex are the only things you can enjoy without being good at them.
Wow.
There you go, Chris.
Wow.
I figured that.
You didn't have me ready. I was like, wow. Yeah, and I'm not good at golf because it comes down to equipment issue,
Yeah.
But the other one, I'm not going to go there. Either way, do we have any, we got a little bit of a time left before at the bottom of the hour. Steve Risley, IU alum, and show host of his own couple shows at thegruelingtruth.net is going to join us to discuss an IU basketball update. Yeah. Is there anybody else that needs to take a long trip down the bench to get a little bit of Game Day IQ remediation from our resident coach, Coach Alan Buck?
I think this one might be a lost cause. We've had him visited before, but Michael Bennett. I mean, after the Eagles lost to the Saints, and the Saints pretty much dominated it until they took their foot off the gas. They still dominated it, but I mean, it was so understandably the players are going to be upset when they're walking off the field. But once again, that's part of the reason you make $1 gazillion is because you've got you're just high profile.
But he got in the face. I know you're going to talk about this NFL cameraman who's actually from the CBS affiliate in Philadelphia. He was working for the Cox Sports TV show, and Cox Sports is out east, where Philly's at and stuff. So he was shooting a video as he walked off the field, like you've seen thousands of times in any game.
Absolutely.
As they were getting ready to do their coverage for their post-game show. And if you haven't seen this video, Michael Bennett essentially is a bully. I mean, I don't know how else to put it.
I think that's about the best way to put it. He made a 90-degree to walk over to the guy, and
some of the people out there might not know who's Michael Bennett. Let's refresh their memory. His first string of the run in this string of extracurriculars began back in his security bust at a Las Vegas casino back in August of 2017. If you recall, Alan, and he made the bench feature when we were still a podcast there at thegruelingtruth.net, which we're still there week in and week out. During the incident, he claimed police officers racially profiled him and used excessive force and temporarily restraining him and questioning him during a strange melee.
Yeah, that was in Vegas, wasn't it?
Yeah, begun when witnesses heard gunshots outside a nearby Vegas nightclub. Then the Vegas police released body cam footage of the incident that didn't corroborate Bennett's story and said they only detained him because he
matched the description of the perp of the shooter.
But he was seen sprinting away from the scene.
So, but instead, I mean, he was acting rather suspicious the way he was behaving, and then he was kind of hiding and
But if you recall,
around,
he said the officer he didn't have any ID on him, and they said to Google him. Yeah. He goes, you can Google me. And the officers, 3 of which are all minority officers, they Googled him on their phone and realized that, yes, he is who he said he is. Mm-hmm. Now, Alan Bucker, if you and I,
if you just said that,
if you or I were in that situation, and I said, hey, man, Google me. I'm on Game Day IQ with Alan Buck on local Fox Sports Radio Evansville. Mm-hmm. Do you think you or I would have that same courtesy given to us?
hands on the hood, feet back, and spread them.
I mean, I'm sorry to cuss, but we're going to jail that night. You know, I mean,
it just would be unimpressed. Sorry,
but you know, in 2018, in March earlier last year, a warrant was issued for his arrest after he allegedly injured an elderly paraplegic woman working security at Super Bowl 51, played in February 2017. He was trying to enter a closed section of the stadium to reach his brother Martellus, who played for the Patriots. He allegedly dropped, "You must not know who I am, and I'm going down to the field, whether you like it or not," lines up to the security, and then pushed the handicapped woman over, knocking the 66-year-old woman into his motorized scooter and sprinting, or actually into her motorized scooter, and then spraining her shoulder. Mm-hmm. So this guy's got a long laundry list. And this, I mean, the NFL needs to quit enabling this behavior of Mr. Bennett and start issuing some fines and punishment, because he has no business being as a poster child. I believe he was nominated for Man of the Year by the Seahawks 2 years ago.
Wasn't that unbelievable?
And it was just completely disrespectful in light of all that.
Yeah, that's the best the Seahawks had to offer?
Exactly.
Isn't that an embarrassment?
But, you know, to see this, and then to see this film, it just is upsetting that somebody like that is put up on a high pedestal by many in the NFL. It's sad.
It really is. And that's why I don't know if there's any rehabilitation for that guy. If he's just
people like that. He, you know, once he's out of football, because you know he's nearing the end of his career. If you look at the ages, in 5 years, that matter's going to take care of itself, and it ain't going to end well for Mr. Bennett if he don't change his ways.
Yeah, we can only hope.
We got time for maybe one more bench feature if you got one there.
Well, don't have a bench. Tell you what, I got a quote or two. I've got somebody for the pedestal. We can save that for later.
Yeah, we can get into that in the second hour.
Yeah. We've all heard the following quote, but do you know who said it? Here's the quote. It's not the size of the dog in the fight, but the size of the fight in the dog. Everybody's heard that one.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. And I would, if you'd asked me, and I'm not sitting here looking at the answer, it'd take me probably 1,000 guesses, and I still might not get it.
Give me a time period.
I don't know when the quote was said, but he played college. Well, he was a football player, college and professional, and he played. His career would have gone from the 70s forward about 15 years.
Sounds like something Bradshaw would have said.
It does, doesn't it?
Yeah, I mean that's what I'm Terry Bradshaw.
Think Heisman Trophy winner times 2.
Times 2. Well, there's only one Heisman Trophy winner.
That's the man, Archie.
That's won 2, and that's Archie
Griffin
from the Ohio State University.
And that kind of explains the quote, doesn't it?
Because I had the era about
Archie
right.
Archie Griffin was about 5'9", maybe 100.
And that's the thing, you know, when we had our good friend of the show on a couple weeks ago, Ken, the photographer, and he had some pictures, of some of the footages of Archie on the field. I was amazed by how short he is.
Oh yeah.
Well, we've got our first caller.
He's my size.
Chris Cooke, Alan Buck here. Is this Mr. Steve Risley joining us on Game Day IQ? Oh, it's not working. Steve Risley, are you there? Got that magic. It's not working. So let me hang up on him. Oh, Steve, can you hear us? Hear us now. I hear something in the background.
There he is.
Steve, can you hear us on Game Day IQ? I'm going to try this again. Steve Risley, can you hear us?
Yes, I can.
Oh, I'm sorry about that. I can hear you perfectly now. We had a little bit of a technical difficulty. We're joined by Mr. Steve Risley, good friend of the show, personal friend of Alan Buck now.
Of course. Hey, I've called you
friend of Alan Buck.
You're one of my favorite big uglies of all time.
Hey, you guys behave yourself tonight, because I got half my wife's relatives in Evansville, Indiana, listening to you guys today. So
fantastic! Well,
wow,
trying to bring you new listeners.
Appreciate
that.
Good. Steve has his own show, Survive in Advance, weekly or daily at thegruelingtruth.net with one Mr. Mike Goodpaster. And you also have your IU basketball show. Alan, I'll let you take over.
Yeah, well, Steve, appreciate you coming on. You've given us some good rundowns on the IU basketball team, and you're kind of give us a rundown on how they performed. And now that we're starting into the Big Ten season, what's
really want me to do that?
Well, they're just underperforming, I would say. Is that fair?
You know, it's a culmination of a lot of things here. First off, I'm already tired of everybody calling for Archie Miller's head.
Oh,
saying
heavens
he's
no.
not a good coach. You know, and Steve Alford is the savior of IU basketball now that he's available. Just get that off the table right now. Basketball coach is going to be fine. We're going to love him as our future coach of this program. The teams are fine. You know, they're learning themselves right now. But really, this is a product of, in my opinion, a couple of things. One is mechanically the team is solid, especially offensively. They run their sets well. They score well. They're still shooting at a 50% clip. They had a little bit of a downfall against Nebraska. But other than that, they're still firing. They're getting good shot selections. They're not shooting the ball enough is the problem. You know, when you only have Langford and Morgan taking 14, 15 shots a game, and you rely on them to score, and those guys got to be taking 20, 25 shots a game if nobody else is going to step up and score.
Right.
Defensively, they could work on their positioning a little bit better. They could get more into help position. They could block out a little bit better. But, you know, we're holding our turnovers down. We didn't do a very good job against Nebraska. Other than that, Maryland, we only made 7 turnovers in the entire game. And so mechanically, this team is solid. It's for what we have to work with the injuries we have and the limited player personnel we got. The problem here with this basketball team is that because of in my opinion, because of the weak schedule they play in the preseason, they never ratchet up their intensity enough to understand the level they've got to play at for a sustained period of time in a Big Ten basketball game.
Right.
The aggression of this team is not strong. It's a passive basketball team by nature. They don't have a vocal on-court leader. They've got to find one of those, and they've got to ratchet up their intensity. Now, you know, we asked this question, Colin, and Colin and I talked about this after our last show. Because, you know, Colin played for Miller last year, and Colin swears to God, and I believe him, there's nobody in Indiana basketball world right now that's more frustrated than Archie Miller.
Of course.
There's nobody more frustrated than he is right now. And it's a process of getting his culture communicated down and getting the players to buy into it. It's a young team. A lot of these guys have never been through this, but they've got to ratchet up their intensity. They've got to get more aggressive. They've got to understand this more than anything. They have to play the game hard for 40 minutes. They can't play it hard and take off the first 10 minutes or take off the last 10 minutes. They do that, they get themselves in a hole or whatever momentum they've built, they lose it. So it's more of a mental block with this basketball team right now, which is generally fixable. I know in my era, and again, it's unfair to compare Knight to Miller. It's unfair to compare Knight to anybody because Knight's a god, a legend, whatever you want to call him. We would have, knowing the fact that we had a week off, I guarantee you that this Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday would have been the 3 most intense practices that we would have ever seen in our life. The intensity level in practice would have been so high, and the aggression would have been so high, and not for punishment, just to get people used to playing at that level. So once Indiana overcomes that, they're going to be fine. Now the problem is the schedule they're playing right now is just brutal.
Yeah.
And, you know, there's no let-off, so I'll stop talking.
Yeah. Well, you know, pretty much what you were saying, it looks to me like sometimes you got 5 players on the court, but only 3 or 4 of them are really at a high level offensively. I'm thinking about, and then somebody else is waiting on somebody else to make a play. Well, you all have to be in there and ready to make the play. And as far as your shooting, we might have an open shot, but we're not ready to shoot when we catch the ball. You know, feet in the right position, knees bent, squared up, et cetera. By the time we catch the ball and get ourselves in shooting position, it's too late. The shot's not there. And
we're not looking for shots. I mean, Langford and Morgan are taking half the shots of our team. And you go down to the bench, then you see Fennessy 1 for 3. You see McRoberts 1 for 2. You see Pfister 0 for 3. You know, you see Devontae 3 for 6. You guys, the starters got to be taking double-digit shots.
Right.
They got to spread it out. And what we're starting to do now, we're starting to stand around and wait for Romeo and Juwan to score. And then we become a very easy team to guard.
Exactly.
When you only got to guard 2 guys, the other 3 guys they're not scoring up, not looking at all the factors that you said, because they're not looking to score, looking to shoot the ball. they're just dribbling around out there looking to pass and get Romeo open. Mm-hmm. And then, Romeo's as good as he is, he's got to learn to play this game hard all the time.
Oh, yeah.
He doesn't do that. He does not do that. He plays hard when the game gets really down to crunch time, and then his talents take over, and he becomes a marvel.
Mm-hmm.
But why can't Romeo Langford be a marvel for the entire minutes that he's playing in the game, go in there and dominate the game like he does when he wants to dominate the game?
Yeah.
That's where the breakdown of communication is, and I don't know where it's coming from. Like I said, I'm not putting any fault on Archie Miller yet.
Right.
And I'm just saying this is a breakdown of communication or a breakdown of transfer of what Archie wants to accomplish into what the players are willing to do on the court.
Mm-hmm. Well, the one thing you just kind of hit upon is Romeo's still just 1 year out of high school. So that intensity level and a 40-minute intensity level is unlike anything he's ever experienced yet. And as you well know, when you're coming from high school, everybody was the superstar, and on that court in your high school team, there was rarely anybody else that was going to rival you, talent for talent. So now everybody was that star on every team. So
and for Romeo in high school, it came so easy because he was so darn good,
mm-hmm.
and it just came so easy. Now in college, it doesn't come so easy.
Mm-mm.
Well, he's playing against other All-Americans now all of a sudden every night. I mean, he was seeing another All-American maybe 3 or 4 times a season in high school.
Mm-hmm.
Now he's seeing another All-American. Everybody that guards him is somebody's All-American.
Absolutely.
And he needs to understand he needs to play at that high level all the time. And when he gets that, and I always likened it like this: coming out of high school where you're getting patted in the rear, going into college where you're getting kicked in the rear. And I don't know that he's quite appreciated that fact yet. That he still thinks he's in high school a bit and can just turn it on when he wants to.
Well,
but if we're going to put that much reliability on him to lead his team in scoring, then he's got to be accountable all the time that he's on the court to do it full time.
Steve,
full time.
I'm going to get kicked in the rear if we don't take a brief time out. Can you hold that thought and join us after the break?
No doubt.
Well, we're here with Steve Risley, Chris Cooke, Alan Buck, Gameday IQ. We're going to take a brief time out. We'll be right back. You're listening to Gameday IQ on Fox Sports Radio, Evansville.
Checking the Fox Sports Evansville calendar for this Thursday, the 17th of January, 2019, coming up on Fox Sports Evansville, 106.7 and AM 1590 WRCY. We've got Pacers basketball coming your way. The Pacers hosting the Philadelphia 76ers. Pregame is at 6 p.m. And don't forget to tune in this Sunday for the AFC and NFC Conference Championships on Fox Sports Evansville 106.7. The Thrifty Nickel is your #1 classified paper in the tri-state in print and online. Let us sell your unwanted items today with our combo package, which includes your ad in print on our website, EvansvilleThriftyNickel.net, where thousands of people are going daily, and also on all of our social media. Call us today, 812-428-8484. That's your Thrifty Nickel, 812-428-8484.
It's game day. The energy pulsates through the arena. Adrenaline pumps. Tension heightens. Anticipation peaks. The crowd rises. It's finally time. The whistle blows and the ball goes up. Don't blink.
Puts it up on the left hand. Score!
Game day lives here on the IU Radio Network. Powered by Learfield.
Google, the company that virtually owns every single move you make on the internet, advertises on TOC Radio. Geico, the insurance outfit run by Warren Buffett, does the same. Home Advisor, Hotwire, Hulu, Netflix, Angie's List, Zillow, Hotels.com, Amazon, Priceline, and Wayfair all advertise on Mass Reach Radio, TOC Radio. Those companies only exist on the internet. What do they know that you may not? Internet-targeted advertising is weak at establishing new customers. For new customers, they turn to mass reach media like TOC Radio. They know if the consumer knows you before they need you, you get the click more often. Internet advertising is a perfectly viable way to advertise. But if someone tells you to throw all your advertising on the internet, tell them you will. Just as soon as Jeff Bezos, Warren Buffett, and Larry Page do the same. TOC Radio. Mass media.
Keyboard Cat, Hamilton the Pug, and Toast Meets World. These are some of the internet's most beloved pets. And they all have one thing in common. Their stories started in a shelter. Start your story. Adopt a dog or cat today. Visit theshelterpetproject.org to find a pet near you. Training that pet to play the keyboard, that's optional. Start a story. Adopt a shelter or rescue pet today. Brought to you by Maddie's Fund, the Humane Society of the United States, and the Ad Council.
Welcome back. Game Day IQ. Chris Cooke, Alan Buck, joined by Steve Risley. I figured, Steve, we'd bring you back with a proper introduction with the IU fight song.
Hoorah.
Well, we had some good discussion going on before the break, and I'll let Alan pick back up.
Yeah, let's see.
Alrighty.
We kind of talked offensively. Similarly, our defense looks similar to what you were talking about offensively. There are times we look brilliant defensively, but not for 40 minutes. And there are times we get lost defensively.
Well, we're always lost. I mean, I haven't seen us play good defensive positioning yet. I mean, we use our athleticism, and it makes us look good.
Mm-hmm.
We anticipate well. We do all the fundamental things well in terms of, you know, our athletic fundamentalism. We're quick, we're fast, we're light on our feet, but we don't get into position well, and that ends up you can't guard somebody one-on-one without getting into foul trouble. And that's what gets Juwan into foul trouble so much. Is that he's down there trying to guard the post by himself. He's not getting any help from Smith. Smith's out of position 90% of the time. You know, he makes the really cool, neat blocks occasionally and swats the ball away. That's all pretty for TV, but it's not good, solid defensive principles.
Right.
They're lacking badly there, and that's the biggest disappointment I have in Archie Miller for coming from Dayton and allegedly being such a great defensive coach. Other people seem to think we're playing good defense, but I played for the master of defense, and I'm telling you, they're not playing good defense.
Yeah,
they're not. They're not in position.
Yeah,
they haven't been in position since day one.
Defense is all about positioning, and you got to get
right,
position
and they're not there. They're not
else.
in position to block out. We get killed on the offensive boards. We block when we get a rebound. It's because we outjump somebody, or the defensive side's not to go after. Offensive side not to go after an offensive rebound. But generally, if we're in a dogfight, we're going to lose those battles more times than not, or we're going to get into foul trouble.
Yeah, I can remember back in the good old days when we did know how to block out and all. There'd be 3 or 4 guys, IU guys, all down on the blocks in the lane, and they'd look at each other as the rebound would bounce in the middle of the 4 of them, and it's just like, which of us pick it up? Because you don't need
countless hours of practice every week on blockout drills. Guards block out, you know, from the perimeter block out, post block out. I mean, most of our practice were predicated on block-out transition. But, you know, I heard you guys talking a little bit, and you were talking about injuries. And I want to address the injury thing. You know, injuries right now, and everybody's all wanting to use that as an excuse. Injuries are an adversity. It's not an excuse. All right? They have 12 guys on that roster. We got a couple guys down. A couple of guys that really haven't even proven themselves yet. We don't know if they're that good as we think they're. We haven't seen them play enough to really understand if they're that. They look good on paper, but we haven't seen them. But I don't want to hear that injuries is an excuse, used as an excuse for us not playing well right now. It's an adversity, but great teams overcome adversity. And you know, you find the next man up, you get him ready to play, you get him in practice, you prepare him, and you tell him what his responsibilities are. You hold him accountable to them, and you ratchet up his intensity. And he goes and plays. I mean, if you're not good enough to step up and play on that team, why are you on that team?
Well, can I ask you both a question as like a casual fan of IU basketball, more of a football guy? You've made some good points on ways to fix it, but is there anything else? I mean, as you're getting into the teeth of the Big Ten schedule, I mean, there's not an easy silver bullet cure-all fix to this. How do you just play your way through? Is that how you just kind of play your way through it, Alan?
I think he just said it. Hard work.
Hard work. I don't know how hard. I've not been to a practice, so I don't know what a Archie Miller practice looks like. You know, I don't know what an Archie Miller locker room looks like. I don't know, so I'm speculating entirely. But the results, whatever he's doing, it's not driving the results that I'm sure he's seeking. I would think not. I mean, Indiana real quickly is turning into a pretty solid tournament team to quickly getting into a bubble situation if they're not careful.
Well, I
tell you what, you look at the rest of their schedule here. They got to go to Purdue. They got to go to Northwestern, which they should be able to handle. Northwestern in Chicago. That's generally a 50-50 split on fans up there, because Chicago's a big Indiana fan base.
Right.
They got Michigan's coming in here, and Michigan's not going to lay down for Indiana. They got to go to Rutgers. it's a road game in the Big Ten. It's never a guaranteed win. Then they got to go to Michigan State. Then they bring Iowa in here, who's now creeping up the polls in the top 25.
Yeah.
And then they've got Ohio State coming in, which is trying to struggle as much as Indiana is all of a sudden. So we could easily get into the second half of the Big Ten in a big hole that we're going to be clawing like crazy to get out of. But I think the process right now is just whatever you're doing, fix it. And it probably just starts with ratcheting up the intensity, working a little bit harder in practice, working a little smarter in practice too. I mean, just grinding people into the ground doesn't get it done. You really have to you got to be able to visualize what the defensive principles are and say, okay, we have to spend half a practice or three-quarters of practice getting everybody in the defensive position. All right. And we got to keep our people out of foul trouble. And we've got to do the basic fundamental things defensively to get us going. And then we've got to find a way to get other players involved offensively. It's almost like you take Langford and Juwan out of practice for 30 minutes and make the other guys scrimmage without them and say, you guys got to shoot. Mm-hmm. Let's assume we don't have these two guys. How are you guys going to score? Put them in situational, opportunities there that they've forced themselves to learn the game that they need to be able to contribute to the team. And I don't know how much of that's going on. Maybe it's all going on. It's just not translating.
Well,
I don't know.
In your weekly show with Colin Hartman, Indiana Basketball Weekly at thegriddlingtruth.net, has Colin Hartman been able to offer any insights as a recent product of the program, some stuff that they do in practice that they might be doing now to kind of address some of those issues that both you and Alan bring up with the current state of the basketball program?
Well, we talk, and he says, when I mention everything that we did, he says, yeah, we did that too, but it's not a question of whether they're walking through it, or is the intensity there involved in it? I mean, when we were in practice, and again, I hate to make these comparisons because it's not fair to anybody, but they're what I know. There would be fisticuffs thrown almost in every practice when we practiced. Tolbert would take a swing at me. I'd take a swing at Landon. Isaiah would take a swing at me. I'd knock Isaiah on his ass for trying to come to the lane. Well, it just that was, and it wasn't anything personal. It's just that's how intense our practices were. That's the level of intensity that went on there.
I think,
and because we got that intense and that involved in what we're doing, and we worked so hard at it, you got tired, you got mad because you were getting beat. If you got beat, you were getting yelled at. You didn't want to get yelled at, so you didn't want to get beat. So, all right, Ray's faster and quicker than me. I'm going to find a way to stop Ray, no matter what he does. If I got to bite him in the butt, he's going up, ducking on my head. I'm going to bite him there and piss him off.
In my personal experience, it's those successful programs where practice is harder and more intense than the games always equates wins on the court of the football field. And I'm not equating my personal experience, but when I've been around a situation when practices are more intense than the game, we've had a great win-loss record because practices were harder than game day.
Mm-hmm. Every talk I've ever given about IU basketball, I tell everybody this, and I'll tell it to you here, and I probably said it on this show before. When I played there, to us, games were a vacation day. Mm-hmm. Games were a day off. There was no game that we played in that was ever intense as a practice that we had every day. There was not under Knight's regime. There was not a game that we played in that was ever as intense as the week of practice. When we got ready to play Kentucky, the intensity level in practice ratcheted up. Knight ratcheted the intensity level up tenfold because we were playing Kentucky. So when we went to face Kentucky, even though Kentucky's a more intense game, or we faced Purdue, he would ratchet the intensity level up in practice for the Purdue week because he knew that the intensity level in the game was going to elevate. When you went to Northwestern, it would be intense, but he would vary his intensity. He knew he had to break. He couldn't do it every day to us because we'd wear out.
Right.
Physically and mentally, you drain. But he knew with Northwestern, I got to get him intense, but I don't have to get him intense. I have to get him for Purdue. Mm-hmm. So this week for us would have been, I'll just say, I don't know if I can say it, hell week in practice. I mean, it wouldn't have been in a bad way. It wasn't a punishment thing. It just was the intensity would have been so high in practice. And he'd carried it on for 3 days. And then he'd give it today to kind of breathe a little bit. And then we'd shoot around tomorrow and come into practice, shoot around, have a kind of a walkthrough and films. And we'd get on the bus and drive up to Lafayette. But the first 3 days, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, we'd all be sore and hurt. Mm-hmm. But our intensity, our whole mindset was at a higher level than it would be. Then we got to the game, it's like, oh, this ain't so bad,
And all that paid off.
It's not as bad. So
it all paid off in the run through the tournament that year because didn't you set a record as far as margin of victory in the tournament?
We had it at that time. I don't know if we still own it or not. It was something like 18 points a game, but it's because we blew out a couple teams. We blew out St. Joe and
Maryland.
We blew out Maryland, and we had a couple big easy wins early, and then.
But on paper wasn't Maryland
UAB.
On paper wasn't Maryland tough matchups with.
I tell you what, for Maryland, the Maryland game we played in Dayton. My buddy went to Wittenberg College in Springfield, Ohio, which is kind of a suburb of Dayton.
Right.
I packed for spring break. I was going to leave the team, and not because I'm a senior. What's he going to do? Bench me? And I was going to just leave with him and go down to Florida for spring break. I thought, no way, we're going to beat Maryland.
Mm-hmm.
So I had my bathing suit packed, my suntan oil, t-shirts and flip flops.
Wow.
And I had a separate suitcase all put away, and lo and behold, we ended up crushing Maryland, and then there goes the ride.
Yeah, was it
the journey begins?
Buck Williams and Albert
that's
King.
A funny story.
Albert King and I think, wasn't it Buck
Williams? Buck Williams, Albert King, Buck Williams.
And
yeah.
they didn't do a whole lot.
Team.
They didn't do a whole lot though against you guys. So.
Well, that was the game that Isaiah lit them up, and then that may be the most perfect basketball game I ever played in. We just hit on all 12 cylinders at it. You generally a basketball team, a good team will hit on 5-6 cylinders a game. 5-6 players playing really well. That game, everybody that went in the game made contributions.
I was thinking you were just saying you guys were a V12 engine when everybody else only had the V6 or the straight six.
That's another great analogy right there.
That's where I thought you were going with it.
That's what I'm going to steal from you now. So you just gave me another one.
Hey, if I can give a legend like you a little bit of something that you can use in your talks, I'll greatly appreciate it.
That word legend around.
What was the score?
Good.
What was the score?
Good pass rule to this.
I want the
90. Was it 90, 93, 60?
99 to 65?
99 to 64, something like that.
64,
it was a wipeout.
That's right.
Well,
yeah, it was a total blowout.
Let me ask you both a question here as we've got to wrap it up here towards the top of the hour. If I was just anybody at IU and I could hand you both the clipboard here as we're heading in, let's call the bookend series because you got Purdue this Saturday and then you see them again at home on the February 19th. So during that stretch, you're talking at Northwestern, Michigan, at Rutgers, like you said, at Michigan State, Iowa comes in, Ohio State comes in, and then at the Golden Gophers, between the bookends of the Purdues of the world. Is there a singular, other than some of the stuff that you've mentioned, is there any singular thing that you could implement that would have a positive impact over this stretch as we bookend with the games against Purdue?
Mechanically?
Mechanically, anything on the table.
No, not mechanically. I mean, I would bust my butt between now and the tournament defensive positioning. I would focus my entire world on defensive positioning because I hate that phrase, defense wins championships, but lack of defense loses you championships, I'll guarantee you.
Yeah.
I can't guarantee you always say defense wins championships because Kansas City Chiefs are proving that by just outscoring everybody in football. But if you don't play defense, you aren't going to win. If you play defense, you can overcome a bad offensive night. So I would say if I was coaching that basketball team right now, the focus for me for the rest of the Big Ten season would be to upgrade the level of defensive intensity, defensive positioning, defensive pressure. That we don't challenge anybody going out on the wing. We give up too many easy 3-pointers because we don't get in the grills. We don't get up in anybody's face. We don't challenge anybody on the perimeter. We let them rest out there. You leave a guy alone on the perimeter, that's a rest period for him. You got guards running up down the court. You don't challenge him out there. You're going to wear him out. We're not challenging him. We're not pressuring him. We're not wearing him out. We're not denying passes enough. It's all on the defensive end.
One of the things
that will fix things quickly.
Well, one of the things I always like to do when you have deficiencies at any sport, if you can have proper clock management, you can work through some of your deficiencies by managing the clock more effectively. Are there any opportunities that either of you foresee where IU might have been able to utilize the clock more to their advantage to help overcome some of these deficiencies that we're mentioning on the court?
Well, sure, put more pressure on them and make them spend more time getting the ball up court, make them spend more time getting into their offense. You only got 40 seconds. And we didn't have a shot clock when I played, which I'm glad we didn't. I think the shot clock's taken away from the game tremendously. It makes it easy. All the offense has to do, or the defense has to do, is now sit there for 39 seconds and write out the shot clock. Back when I played, you had to play defense for sometimes a minute and a half, 2 minutes at a time. They don't have to do that anymore. So, I mean, I would make teams come up the court and use more time off the shot clock, getting into their offense, which then speeds up and hurries up their offense. and takes them a little bit out of continuity on their offense. So we're sitting back defensively, not pressuring the perimeter, not pressuring the post very much, not helping out, and we're just making it too easy for teams to score on us by not giving them any defensive pressure at all.
Mm-hmm. Well, Steve,
my opinion.
As we're wrapping it up here at the top of the hour, how can the listeners out there here on Fox Sports Radio Evansville listen to your shows week in and week out at thegruelingtruth.net?
Well, you can go to thegruelingtruth.net. It's a website. You can go there. All of our stuff is posted on Facebook. It's posted on Spreaker, Spotify, iHeart, iTunes, YouTube, any place where there's a podcast thing, we are posted on. We're on Twitter. We post it on Twitter after every show.
Usually within
about a daily show called
about an hour after the game.
Whenever Mike gets ready to post it, Mike, he's got to go chase his dogs or do something like that first. Go take his dog.
Mike
for a walk.
Goodpasser, ladies and gentlemen.
Mike Goodpasser, my partner, but generally on the night of an IU game, we also now have we started a program with the Indiana University Sports Media Center. We have a junior student now writing pregame and postgame for us, and it's a very good job. He's done a great job. He's under Galen Calvillo, who runs the sports media department. He's under his wings and tutelage, and he puts up tomorrow there'll be a pregame Purdue outlook for the game. Then there'll be a postgame afterwards, and we're teaching him how to do it. It's a program we're trying to initiate with a lot of colleges to give young kids an opportunity to crack into this business and get a resume built before they get out in the world and try and do this on their own. So Cole Hanna is our kid we're using right now. He's doing a fabulous job for us. His write-ups are really accurate, really good, very thorough, very statistically oriented, and he gives really good, solid opinions. So the GruelingTruth.net is the foundation. Anywhere, you can find us on Twitter, srisley34. I always post everything right after each show we do on my account. We have Survive in Advance account. We have an Indiana Basketball Weekly Twitter account, too. So you can find us.
Well, Steve, as always, we appreciate a good friend of the show like yourself joining us. We look to have you back here in a couple of weeks as we get to the other end of that bookend to kind of see if a lot of this stuff that both you and Alan have addressed here tonight kind of comes to fruition for the Indiana Hoosiers.
Yeah, well, hopefully Uncle Richard and everybody and all my wife's relatives are all listening down there now. We brought you some new listeners down there in the Evansville market. They were all clamoring, what station are you on? What station are you on? But, I don't know.
You're on Fox Sports Radio, AM and FM.
Fox Sports Radio, yeah. But they know now because Chris was kind enough to send me the information after I emailed you about 2 hours ago, Alan, and you wouldn't respond to me.
Alan's not good with the email after 1 o'clock. I'm just going to throw
I learned that, Chris, so I'm with Chris now. So. But hey, I enjoy being with you guys. You guys are great. You guys do good work. I know we put your show on our site, too.
Yep.
And I enjoy the partnership very much. You guys are very fun to work with.
Steve, thanks for joining us as always. We got to get to a break here, but thanks for joining us.
Appreciate everything.
Go IU.
Go
yes,
IU.
Sir.
Steve Risley, ladies and gentlemen, here on Fox Sports Radio, Gameday IQ. Alan Buck, another great segment with our good friend of the show, Steve Risley.
Yeah, he covers an awful lot, and it's he's 100% right in all that he says, and he's not just guessing because he lived it and he was there and he understands and as far as defense being positioning. It is. You can only make up for so many sins with your athleticism, but that's going to get you in foul trouble anyway. So you got to start with positioning, and that's what he's talking about. So good for him.
We're up on a break. It'll be the second half of Gameday IQ right here momentarily after we get a few more words in from our sponsors, Chris Cooke and Alan Buck, Gameday IQ, Fox Sports Radio, Evansville.
Upgrading your bathroom? The Home Depot can help you upgrade that upgrade with great brands and great savings at the Winter Kitchen and Bath event. Right now, add the finishing touch with an exclusive Delta Zella faucet for just $59. It's a two-handle high-arced center set faucet to give you plenty of clearance. So upgrade your bathroom and let the savings flow. The Winter Kitchen and Bath event at the Home Depot. More saving, more doing. Valid through March 24th while supplies last.
I'd love to hear more. Do you have a card?
This is it. This is when you can either let something happen or make it happen with your professional custom card from Vistaprint. Right now, you can get 500 business cards personalized the way you want them, starting at just $9.99. You pick the look, the style, and the statement you want to make in the moment. Now is the time to make something happen for your business. So, own them now with 500 custom business cards starting at $9.99 at Vistaprint.com. Just use promo code 3232. That's Vistaprint.com, promo code 3232.
You've seen the hunger, the hustle, the victories, and the defeats. But one thing you'll never see, this team backing down. It's time to rise up, be a part of the uprising on the Purple Aces Sports Network, powered by Learfield.
Follow the University of Evansville Purple Aces all season long on Fox Sports Evansville, 106.7 WYFX. The Thrifty Nickel is your #1 classified paper in the Tri-State in print and online. Let us sell your unwanted items today with our combo package, which includes your ad in print on our website, evansvillethriftynickel.net, where thousands of people are going daily, and also on all of our social media. Call us today, 812-428-8484. That's your Thrifty Nickel, 812-428-8484.
Will eventually dry out overnight, 33-year overnight low temperature in Evansville. We'll see a dry day for our Friday, 43-year high temperature in the River City. We'll see scattered cloud cover throughout the day before rain chances arrive early Saturday morning with temperatures in the upper 30s. We'll at 45 degrees Saturday afternoon with that continuing rain chance throughout the morning, the early afternoon. By the late afternoon, early evening, however, snowfall makes its way back into the Tri-State. For 44 News, I'm Chief Meteorologist Cameron Hotman.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Chris Cooke, Alan Buck here. Game Day IQ, the Thursday evening tradition. A great interview with Steve Risley. IU great. Hey, I shared his show links on our social media sites here at WYFX-FM on Twitter and Facebook. So if you want to check out his show, Indiana Basketball Weekly with Colin Hartman and Steve Risley, heard after each and every game. He has several shows at thegruelingtruth.net. Give him a call, or not. You can even email him. He gave out his email and Twitter. But if you have a question about IU basketball, be sure to check out that show. Alan, you know, we've got a little bit of talking to do before we get to the bottom of the hour. One, Mr. Nick Ruffolo of 44 Blitz is going to be joining us here after a hiatus out of the country. He was at last week, so he wouldn't have been able to join us.
That's right. Where was he went to? Was it Ireland or someplace?
It was somewhere over yonder. It was across the sea. That's all I know.
Across the pond. But it wasn't just in Canada or something. He's really out of the country.
Well, I got one for you. Now, let's get back a little bit on the pedestal in our bench feature.
All right.
This came in today. This is a report about the Big Baller brand charging media companies an insane amount of money to film LaMelo Ball. And the only reason I bring this up
I'll go wash my car. I'll come back when you're done talking about him.
Is because the company reportedly charging media outlets $3,500 to film LaMelo Ball and SPIRE Institute in their tournament this weekend. He's going to be playing with Spire in the Big Baller Beatdown at Marshall County High School. That's located in Benton, Kentucky, Alan, about 2.5 hours to the southwest of here.
So if we really wanted to, we could go watch it.
Absolutely.
Huh? Yeah.
And that's why I throw it out there. All games are free to film except for the Spire Institute games. The tournament media guide said to film either the two Spire Institute games, either of the two, you'll have to present $3,500 at the gate per the rules of the Big Baller brand media credential. And
what a joke.
And that's from the email that they shared on Twitter at Adam Zorgoria. That's where I saw. But it's January 17th is when it was posted, 2019. So we better ask old Nick Ruffolo, 44 Blitz, if he plans on going down to Benton, Kentucky, and if the old station's going to give him $3,500 in cash to get some video clips for the Evansville market.
God, if I ever hear that guy's name, not Ruffalo's, the other guy, that'd be way too soon. But,
I know that the Big Baller brand updates kind of raise your blood a little bit. I figure with the sick as you've been, to get a little blood flow going. You know, he's a lifelong Hall of Famer for the bench feature here on this show. Anything Big Baller brand.
He's a clown. But,
well, how do you take us back from that? Go ahead, Alan.
Well, let's get somebody here on the pedestal, and we're going to put Andrew Luck, Indianapolis Colts quarterback. He earns our spot on the pedestal this week, and no, it isn't for anything he's done during his comeback season of his. This is for something that provides benefits which are far better than just a Sunday afternoon's entertainment. to the people in the sports world. He established something called the Andrew Luck Book Club. Are you familiar with that? It's an online book club for which you don't have to sign up, log in, or pay for membership. He's got a section for rookies, young kids, and one for veterans. Those are adults. And he recommends books in each category each month. And people read the books and then give their comments on his social media, on the website.
And that's AndrewLuckBookClub.com is the website.
Yeah, and like if you're, for young readers, they can read whatever the books that, and he says he recommends books that he enjoyed when he was a kid, plus, modern ones as well. And kids can then comment what their impressions are.
Got the site pulled up right here. It says Building a Team Through Reading. Mm-hmm. It's got a rookie book. And right now the rookie book is featured as the Jungle Book. And then it's got a veteran book. And that veteran book is The 1 in a Million Boy by Monica Wood. Mm-hmm. And they've got a podcast associated with it. You got to check out this website, AndrewLuckBookClub.com, for all the details.
And it really encourages young people to get involved in reading, and then they can comment what their impressions are about the book and the characters, et cetera, and then read what other people thought about it. Kind of tell you if you're on the right page, or pardon the expression, but make sure you're picking things up properly and that sort of thing, and it's a really good way to get kids involved. And here's a quote from Andrew Luck. He says, "The most impactful thing for me has been the opportunity to go to a classroom or nursery school or somewhere in the community and read with or to kids. The majority of the kids have no idea who I am. I think some of them, the older ones maybe do. When they know, I think they get very excited, but as soon as I start reading, they're into the book." And that's a pretty good attitude from Andrew Luck in getting involved with kids and reading. So that's where I put him on the pedestal. And
I agree. I mean, anytime you get that, of course, the Indianapolis Colts quarterback, had a wonderful season this past season, but I did not know.
I think he's going to get quarterback or comeback player of the year.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, who else is there out there that's put up the numbers he has? Yeah. But, on that club, one final word, you can start participating today by 1, simply finding a book, 2, start reading it, and then 3, post about it on social media. That's that simple. It's got a 1, 2, 3 method. Sort of reminds me of that TB12 method that Mr. Tom Brady has out there. Mm-hmm. What do you think about him and his chances as we preview the AFC Championship game in Arrowhead this Sunday night?
I'm saying a prayer for the Chiefs. The problem is odds. I mean, the scuttlebutt was that the Chiefs are going to have a great season and then fold in the playoffs.
I might have been guilty, in all fairness, of I didn't think they would pull it out with a playoff win. So yeah. I'll be the first to admit when I'm wrong, and I was wrong about the Kansas City Chiefs.
Yeah, well, let's hope they can keep going another week. And it's been a while since they've been in a Super Bowl.
Well, the meme of the week, Alan, that you mentioned, it favors Kansas City. You know the famous scene from the 1977 classic that is Episode 4, Star Wars, A New Hope, where they're cleaning R2-D2 and they kind of feel around on him and they come across the message of Princess Leia saying, "Help us, Obi-Wan Kenobi, you're our only hope." Well, it says, "Help us." It's got that image of R2 showing the message, and Obi-Wan and Luke Skywalker are looking at the message, and it says, "Help us, Kansas City Chiefs. You're our only hope." And I've seen that meme, and another meme of the week was the Tom Brady retirement party that the Kansas City Chiefs are hosting live from Arrowhead Stadium this Sunday afternoon, late afternoon, and all kinds of fun with that on the Internet. I saw a couple bars are really getting heavy into that in the Kansas City area. They've actually created social media events about it. But, Tom Brady's Tom Brady. You have to admit that it is impressive what he's accomplished. I mean, this is, I believe, the 8th or 9th straight AFC Championship game that he's played in.
I think the 8th, but I'm not sure.
It's 8. Sure. It's 8. But still, do you think you'll ever see that feat duplicated?
That's pretty amazing, and I hope I don't see it bettered. I hope this is the end of it. I've never been a fan, folks, but certainly got to admire the accomplishments he's made. But
there's a lot. If you just search Tom Brady's retirement party on Facebook, for example, and look under the events, all in the Missouri, Kansas area.
Why would we want to do that? I don't want to research.
The magical hour late at night when you're bored on the internet and you're trying to think of stuff to talk about on Game Day IQ.
I would Google Giselle, not Tom.
I Googled Tom Brady retirement because as a lifelong Miami Dolphin fan, there's one thing that I've wanted more than ever since about 2001. So the past 18 years is I want Tom Brady to retire. And now I don't want to see the Joe Theismann retirement, for example. I would never wish. I want to go on record.
No.
I would never. And it's sad that when you look across the internet, you see people that go to that level.
Yeah.
I don't want to see somebody have a Joe Theismann type retirement, if you know what I mean.
No.
I just want to see him retired in the AFC Championship game so that the AFC can be freed of the scourge that is the New England Patriots.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's good. Okay,
I'm off on my rant. I'm sorry.
All right,
I didn't take my medicine this afternoon.
Well, we're good. You need your nap.
I need my nap.
All right. Once again, it's story time with Uncle Buck. Get your Game Day IQ ready. It's going to be raised right here. I can promise you that. And this was something I saw on the sister of a friend of mine posted it on something on Facebook about this person, and it disappeared a couple days. But I'm glad I wrote down what she'd put on there just as a reminder to me to look up information, because what she had posted was gone in a matter of a day or so. But it was about the empowerment of women and the achievements of women. And here is a story about Elizabeth Betty Robinson, who was born in Riverdale, Illinois on August 23rd, 1911. She lived until May 18th, 1999. She married, becoming Elizabeth R. Schwartz, and she was an American athlete. Well, big deal, you say. There are a lot of female athletes, female American athletes. But Elizabeth Robinson was a piece of history, and a very remarkable piece of history she was. She ran her first official race on March 30th, 1928, at the age of 16. It was an indoor 60-yard dash in which she placed second. Her next race was an outdoor 100-meter race in which she equaled the world record. Her second race, she equaled the world record. Now, the world record did not stand because it was determined to be wind-aided. Robinson went to the Amsterdam Olympics in 1928. This was her third 100-meter competition. She made the finals, and she won the gold medal, once again equaling the world record. This was the first time this event had been held in the Olympics. So Elizabeth Robinson was the inaugural women's champion in the 100-meter dash. Just from right over here in Riverdale, Illinois.
How far is Riverdale from where we sit?
I don't know.
Oh, I didn't need to put you on the spot.
You put me on the spot.
I didn't put you on the spot.
But she also won a silver medal as part of the 4x100 meter relay team. But we haven't even begun to scratch the surface.
I mean, how do you top the 1928 Amsterdam Olympic feat?
You'll hear it right here.
But Amsterdam's not as cool in 1928 as it is today, if you know what I mean.
Okay. I don't care.
That's for a few listeners out there.
In 1931... she was involved in a plane crash, and she was severely injured. She was in a coma, but appeared dead to one of the crew who was aiding in the rescue at the scene of the wreck. He put her in the trunk of his car. Remember, this was 1931.
Yeah.
And he took her to an undertaker. It was discovered that she was still alive, but she would remain in a coma for 7 months. After coming out of the coma, it took another 6 months for her to get out of a wheelchair, and 2 more years to be able to walk normally. Of course, she missed the 1932 Olympics in Los Angeles, but miraculously, she was ready for the 1936 Olympics in Berlin. Well, she wasn't quite ready. She was unable to kneel for a normal starting position in the 100 meters.
Wow.
So she participated as part of the 4x100 relay team, because you're
standing.
Yeah. But it's hard for me to fathom. She couldn't get into a kneeling position for a start of a on your mark, get set, go start, but she could still sprint enough to be going from an upright position. Anyway, trailing the heavily favored German team, when the German runner dropped the baton, Robinson took the lead and handed off to anchorwoman Helen Stevens, who brought home the victory. Elizabeth Robinson, trailblazer in women's track in America and the world, and miraculously a survivor of a plane crash that nearly killed her, had her second gold medal and her third medal overall. I think she merits a place on our coveted pedestal this week. And
I agree.
And I'd never heard of the woman.
What was the name in Illinois, the city?
Riverdale. I think Riverdale, isn't that where the Archie comics took place? It was Riverdale. I don't think the city was. It was up in.
I think it's outside of Chicago. Now that I think about it, I'm going to get some confirmation.
But the Archie comics were. It was a fictional Riverdale. I'm not sure what's.
The Riverdale that you're referencing is outside of Chicago.
Outside Chicago, but
it's more towards the Indiana side at the top of or bottom of the lake.
I'd never heard of the woman before, but to race, her third race, she was in, wins the Olympic 100-meter and the first ever woman to win that race.
I was throwing in a veiled pot reference about Amsterdam, how people can legally smoke marijuana there since the 70s, and how in 1928 it's not the apples to apples Amsterdam in some people's mind. I just wanted to raise your game day IQ a little bit. And I knew by your response you had no idea what I was talking about.
No.
Not that I'm an advocate, but when people hear Amsterdam, that's the first thing in my generation and younger. That's the first thing that kind of comes to mind.
Well, here I was trying to improve their knowledge of history of sports and all, and you're just talking drugs and stuff.
No. I was just trying to bring them up to speed on.
You millennials.
Did you? I'm not a millennial. Don't give me that. I don't like labels like it.
Are you a Gen Xer?
Yeah, I would say I'm in my own generation personally, but I don't really like. My own little world. That's for sure. To sit here and talk with you for a couple hours each and every week. But the thing is I don't like that title, of Gen X versus millennial versus Gen Y versus what are you guys, the baby boomer? Yeah, but I mean, we're just going to have to clean up your all's mess is what it's going to come up to. And then you got the greatest generation, which I believe they've earned the title that was coined to the World War II.
I think everybody pretty much acknowledges that the greatest generation deserves to be called the greatest generation.
Yeah, absolutely. What they've dealt with, the problems that they dealt with, and that generation versus what you and I have had to deal with in our lifetime.
And this story butted up against that.
You'd think we'd practice this, but that was just a stroke of knowing each other. Yeah. Tell the story.
Well, yeah, we were there at the 36 Olympics. That's when Adolf was hitting his stride.
Yeah.
And Jesse Owens, did his deal right in front of him, won his gold medals. Yep, 4 gold medals. And Betty Robinson did the same. With the 4x1 relay team. So
I wish there was a way to get a time machine and get Carl Lewis at his peak and Jesse Owens at his peak and have them do like a 100-meter dash and try to see who would have it.
I had read something about shoes for Jesse Owens. I mean that he somehow borrowed some or something. He forgot his or some oddity, and then he still went out and
give
won
them the same equipment, give them modern equipment, and give them some practice. I mean, that would be a race for the. Could you imagine the pay-per-view revenue potential for something like that? If you could somehow reference or monopolize the time travel part of it, that's the only problem there. But
88 miles an hour. Get the DeLorean.
Get the DeLorean going. Hey, we need to take a quick break before we come back with that final story. Is that okay? Or did you?
Yeah, go ahead.
But we're going to take another time out. You're listening to Game Day IQ here on Fox Sports Radio, Evansville.
Keep up to date with what's happening in the Tri-State. The official 44 News mobile app provides you with 24-hour news and weather updates. Check current weather conditions, extended forecasts, and exact hour-by-hour weather. The 44 News app features the ability to create custom storm warnings for wherever you are. And stay up to date with local news headlines to keep you in the know. See up-to-the-minute info from the 44 News team. Download the free 44 News app now. Available on Google Play and the App Store. 44 News. Focused on family and the community.
The Thrifty Nickel is your #1 classified paper in the Tri-State in print and online. Let us sell your unwanted items today with our combo package, which includes your ad in print on our website, EvansvilleThriftyNickel.net, where thousands of people are going daily, and also on all of our social media. Call us today, 812-428-8484. That's your Thrifty Nickel, 812 428-8484.
It's back and bigger than ever. Menards Bag Sale. Get 15% off everything you can fit into the bag. Even sale items. From paint to power tools, batteries to bath faucets, cabinet hardware, light bulbs, and more. Just get them in the bag and save 15%. Now during Menards Bag Sale. Save 15% on everything you can fit into the bag. Even sale items. Hurry in. Sale ends January 19th.
Save big money at Menards.
Will eventually dry out overnight. 33-year overnight low temperature in Evansville. We'll see a dry day for our Friday. 43-year high temperature in the River City. We'll see scattered cloud cover throughout the day before rain chances arrive early Saturday morning with temperatures in the upper 30s. We'll at 45 degrees Saturday afternoon with that continuing rain chance throughout the morning, the early afternoon. By the late afternoon, early evening, however, snowfall makes its way back into the tri-state. For 44 News, I'm Chief Meteorologist Cameron Hotman.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Chris Cooke, Alan Buck here, Game Day IQ, Fox Sports Radio, Evansville. Alan, do you know this background music by chance? It's a great WWE tag team from the 90s. I'll just leave it at that. A little bit of a wrestler, bring back some wrestler bumper music there. I'll come back. That's a trivia question. If you know the tag team that used that as a theme song, hit us up at gamedayIQ@gmail.com. We'd love to hear from you. Al, we've got a few minutes until one Mr. Nick Ruffolo of 44 Blitz joins us here at the bottom of the hour. We're getting into this last half of the second half of the show. Where do you have another story for us, I believe?
Oh, I got tons of stories over here. We can go through some things, but let's just leave it a little light here tonight. We don't want to get into another really deep story, but I've got couple quotes here. Here's one from Marv Levy, famous Buffalo Bills head coach.
4 straight Super Bowls.
Yep. Football doesn't build character, it reveals character. Very succinct, huh? But and here's another one from a contemporary of his, from Tom Landry, Dallas Cowboys great coach. Leadership is a matter of having people look at you and gain confidence, seeing how you react. If you're in control, they're in control. There is an awful lot of, remember, it's Joe Montana was famous for walking into the huddle when their backs are against the wall and most of the players thought they didn't stand a chance, and he was so calm, they just looked at him and they became calm.
I believe it was the center, Randy Cross, that tells the story about it. He says they're in a commercial timeout. It was one of the early Super Bowls. He goes, hey, there's John Candy sitting there in the second or third row, and they're looking at John Candy. And then he talked about how calm he was. He was calling out stars of the day.
I vaguely remember that story.
I believe it was Randy Cross, the center, that told that story. But, you talk about the historic coaches like Marv Levy. He obviously never went to the White House, but Tom Landry did. What do you think the Dallas Cowboys got from the president when they visited with their Super Bowl win? What do you think was served up for the old Dallas Cowboys back in the day?
Probably steer.
Steer?
Good old-fashioned steak.
And you know what I'm referencing, right?
Oh, yeah.
I'm surprised you didn't talk about that, about the Clemson visit to the White House.
It's such a
non-story.
So why? And there's nothing he could have done and would have been credited with making the right choice. So,
when the staff's on furlough, and how many times you and I traveled on the road with the Indoor Football League for about 3 years. How many times when we were traveling, regardless of the venue, did we have spreads very similar to that? And folks that are uninitiated into the world of high-level sports at the level of professional or college, major college football, that's very common when you travel to see a spread like that as a gesture to get you some food. Pizza, we didn't have quite the Whopper spread that I saw.
I was about to say it wasn't nearly as elaborate as that, but
I think we can name about every Golden Corral in the state of Michigan at some point, but it's
like those chocolate fountains. Don't you,
that's a whole. You had to pull the chocolate fountain story from the indoor football time, and you remember the time that I pointed out the chocolate fountain at the Golden Corral. I believe we were in up in Saginaw, Michigan, outside of Saginaw, Michigan, up near the Canadian border. And I watched the Michigan. What's the name of them? You know, they're not Hoosiers up there. What are they called? Michigander. The young Michigander was sticking their fingers in the chocolate fountain, and the parents are just letting them. And I mean, the kid literally was rubbing their whole hands into the chocolate fountain. And then I saw guys on our team go up and use said chocolate fountain. You know, it's not like the chocolate in the chocolate fountain is at a certain temperature that's medicinal to where it's not like rubbing alcohol and that stuff. I'm not a fan of the chocolate fountain, and especially after witnessing that, I have no desire to see the chocolate fountain at Golden Corral ever again. Well, we're going to lose them as a potential sponsor. You can go ahead and take them off the list.
Here's another quote that this goes right along with what Steve Risley was talking about intensity and how to play your best basketball. And it does come from a basketball coach. There are only two options regarding commitment. You're either in or you're out. There's no such thing as life in between. That's from Pat Riley.
Pat Riley.
He knew something about winning championships, doesn't he?
A little bit.
And
was that when he was with the Lakers or the Heat?
I don't know when. It didn't give a date for the quote, but here's from one of his players. Ask not what your teammates can do for you. Ask what you can do for your teammates. Irvin Magic Johnson. That's pretty, obviously it's a play on President Kennedy's famous quote, ask not what your country can do for you, ask what you can do for your country. But that's the way Irvin Johnson played basketball. And that's again, I was a Larry Bird fan, not a Magic Johnson fan. But that's how Magic played the game.
Did you ever, when you were at Purdue, or I mean, that would have been more your Purdue era.
It was 79 when Johnson, when Michigan State beat ISU in the NCAA championship. That was the same year that IU beat Purdue in the NIT. So
you wait a minute. 79. Now, granted, I was like 2 years old, but you had 3 Indiana colleges between the 4 team.
Notre Dame was also in the final. Oh, yeah, in the Final Four, in the 2 Final Twos. Yes, 3 of the 4 teams were Indiana.
But in the Final Fours, you had then 4 teams?
Yeah, because Notre Dame was in the Final Four of the NCAA.
Did Notre Dame and Indiana State play each other that year in the regular season, or did Indiana State play IU or Purdue?
Not that I know. No, I know IU didn't play Indiana State.
Wow.
And I don't think... See, why would anybody bother playing in little old Indiana State? They weren't any good. I'm saying that tongue-in-cheek, folks, because, yeah, with Larry Bird on the team, he brought them to fame, and he had an absolutely horrible game against Michigan State, and otherwise it could have been a much, much tighter game. But, yeah, they were a force to be reckoned with. They probably could have beaten either Indiana or Purdue, and maybe Notre Dame that year too. I don't recall. But
you got any more stories? We're waiting for Nick. Send him the message. I know he's en route, and he should be joining us. Nick Ruffalo, 44 Blitz, should be calling in. Anything in your stack over there you want to share?
Well, yeah, got some trivia questions here. Here's one. I'm not sure. You not being a basketball person probably wouldn't know, but this is some good game day IQ information.
I'm still trying to get over the chocolate fountain vision. With you, I mean,
pulled that one out of the archives. Who's the only basketball player? And this is people out there in listener land probably don't know that this person that there's someone with this list of accomplishments. There's a basketball player. He's the only basketball player to have played in an NCAA Final Four, won an Olympic gold medal, won a European championship, and won an NBA title. Incidentally, and this may give it to people, he also holds the single-game scoring record for a Final Four game with 58 points. It was in a consolation game, so that'll tell you that it was
earlier because they don't
before 1981.
Yeah, they don't do the consolation.
Do you know why the consolation game was ended?
Because we're a participant ribbon-driven society now, and everybody has to.
Actually, it's a little more historical than that. I believe it was March 30th, 1981. The President Reagan had been shot, and there was question whether or not the NCAA championship game was going to be played that Monday night. I said 30th. It might have been the 31st. I'm old. I can't remember. It's one of the two. I think it was 30th, though. And
the 31s and the 30s all bleed together.
Well, you know.
Is that what I have to look forward to at 44?
Well, when it's 30 years later, Steve Risley would know because that date was very important. But anyway, the game time decision whether or not they were going to play the game or not because of the President Reagan's situation. And as things went, they did not play the consolation game that year. They did play the championship game that Monday night, which Indiana went ahead and thumped North Carolina 63-50. But after that, the consolation was never again played. So it was pre-1981. The answer is Bill Bradley. Dollar Bill Bradley won the Olympic gold medal in 1964. In 1965 with Princeton, he played in the Final Four. And that's when, in a consolation game, he scored 58 points versus Wichita State. In 1966, here's the reason he won the European Championship. He was a Rhodes Scholar, so he spent a year at Oxford. And when he went over there, he happened to play for the FIBA European Champions Cup Italian team. It was Simmenthal Milano. They won the European Championship that year. So he got his championship there, and then he came back and played with the New York Knicks, and they won championships in 1970 and 1973 in the NBA. So it's kind of a right place, right time, but still an extraordinary talent for him to have come through and won those accolades.
Well, as we're waiting for Nick, Bill Bradley, former senator, my game day IQ just went up a point.
Well, I'll give you something easy because this is more up your alley. NCAA football, single season rushing records, Division I FBS. Who holds that for the big boys? I'll give you a college. You can name him. Oklahoma State.
Yeah, Barry Sanders.
There you go.
That's who I was going to go with. But
FCS. Who holds that?
And that's the old 1AA, right?
Yeah. College is Towson. The year's 2013.
LaDainian Tomlinson.
Nope. 2013 is the year. And I've never heard of the person. Terrence West.
No.
And he was 109 yards behind Sanders, so he's pretty tough. Now, Division II, Chadron State, 2006. The famous former Patriot played for Chadron State.
Danny Woodhead.
There you go.
Yeah, all right. I had to think for a second.
Yeah. And then in Division III, obviously a Mount Union player, 2008 and this guy Danny Woodhead, by the way, at 2,756 yards, 128 ahead of Barry Sanders. The Division III from Mount Union, 2008, Nate Kimick, KMIC, 2,790 yards. That is the most in those four divisions.
Well, I tell you what, let's take our final break while we wait for Nick. I'm going to text him here. His broadcast, I know he was traveling, might have ran a little long, but we're going to take our final break of the night here. You're listening to Game Day IQ on Fox Sports Radio, Evansville.
Don't miss Macy's 48-hour sale with big savings and limited time specials like coats and jackets for everyone. 65% off. Don't miss 50 to 75% off a great collection of women's boots. Save 70% during our fine jewelry clearance. And get the Tommy Hilfiger All-American 2 towel at our lowest price of the season, $4.79. Macy's 48-hour sale. Friday and Saturday. Savings on original and sale prices. Exclusions apply. Macy's Star Rewards now offers benefits everyone can enjoy, no matter how they pay. Sign up for free in store or at Macys.com/Star Rewards.
Indeed knows finding the right hire takes time away from your business.
Hiring a qualified data engineer felt like a second job.
More job seekers use Indeed than any other site, so there's no better place to find someone with the skills you're looking for.
I needed someone with a master's in computer science and database experience.
Plus, Indeed screener questions help you find your shortlist fast.
Now I'm back to having just one job.
Get a $50 credit to give your first job posting premium placement at Indeed.com/credit. Terms, conditions, quality standards, and usage limits apply. Additional terms online.
You've worked hard to start your own business. Now, all you need is customers. Let the Original Company Incorporated get the word out with advertising, print, direct mail, broadcasting, and the internet. Whether it's banners on the World Wide Web or designing your own website, the Original Company can sure put you in touch with potential clients. But there's more. We can provide marketing research, media management, public relations, and other services. Make your business our business. Contact the Original Company Incorporated online at originalcompany.com.
Ladies and gentlemen,
hits just keep on coming.
Outkick the Coverage with Clay Travis is coming right for you.
So without Le'Veon Bell, and by replacing him with James Conner, who's now headed to the Pro Bowl, Jalen Samuels, and Stephen Ridley, the 2018 Steelers were better than the 2017 Steelers. Shouldn't it be a major cautionary tale that the Steelers were better on offense without Le'Veon Bell than they were with him? That their offense outperformed in virtually every statistical category with the running backs that they paid a fraction of what they would have paid him. Don't pay running backs. The position is not worth the money that is being spent on the players. There are a lot of other positions you can spend your money in a more effective fashion.
It's Outkick the Coverage with Clay Travis.
You want to talk about a way to start your morning?
Weekday mornings at 5 a.m. on Fox Sports Evansville 106.7.
Will eventually dry out overnight. 33-year overnight low temperature in Evansville. We'll see a dry day for our Friday. 43-year high temperature in the River City. We'll see scattered cloud cover throughout the day before rain chances arrive early Saturday morning with temperatures in the upper 30s. We'll at 45 degrees Saturday afternoon with that continuing rain chance throughout the morning, the early afternoon. By the late afternoon, early evening, however, snowfall makes its way back into the tri-state. For 44 News, I'm Chief Meteorologist Cameron Hotman.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, for a final time. Chris Cooke, Alan Buck here. Game Day IQ. The Thursday evening tradition will be up to the top of the hour here on Fox Sports Radio Evansville. Hopefully, we're going to be joined shortly by Nick Ruffolo of 44 Blitz. Alan, you know, you're going through the stack over there trying to get some filler. What did you find during the break?
I got a couple things. One of them I just thought was really funny when I ran across it. This was Charlie Hall, junior. He was this was a year or so ago. He was a junior basketball player at Northwestern. Happens to be the son of Julia Louis-Dreyfus. He was a little used guard that played, basketball at Northwestern. Hadn't scored a point in his 2+ seasons prior to a game against Lewis University. He was fouled on a 3-point attempt, so he went to the line. He hit the middle free throw of the 3. So far, none of this is a remarkably big deal for any reason. But what happened later that night has to have people thinking he's a chip off the old block. Now, he scored 1 point. That's his college contribution. I mean, he's still going to Northwestern. Not everybody can cut Northwestern. But he posted a picture to social media, the iconic black and white photo of Wilt Chamberlain holding the sheet of paper with the 100. Remember that?
Yeah.
Everybody,
It's iconic. It's an iconic image.
Absolutely, it is. He also put it split screen with a black and white picture of himself holding a piece of paper with 1 written on it. So Chamberlain's picture, of course, commemorates his 100-point performance against the Knicks in 1962, and Charlie Hall's is his 1-point performance. So first of all, it's very well done, as he's posed very similarly to Chamberlain, and he had his picture posted in black and white also. But secondly, he has the humility to laugh at himself. But still, like I said, how many people play Big Ten basketball? And this will be something he could tell his kids and his grandkids. And, like I said, while we're at it, how many people are smart enough to cut it at Northwestern?
I got a story for you here from the AP Wire today. And this helps hit our soccer quota, or our soccer story quota for the month. A journalist in Ghana who exposed soccer corruption was shot dead. Oh, wait a minute. Do we have Nick Ruffolo here, 44 Blitz? And that noise means Only one man will be joining us here on Gameday IQ. Nick Ruffalo, 44 Blitz. Nick, say hello to everybody this evening. Nick, can you hear us here? Oh, it's one of those days, Alan.
Take a hammer to that board. It'll work.
Nick, can you hear us now? He's going to have to call back because this board is shot. That's all I got to say. I'm going to take a hammer. I'm going to throw this thing out in the river before it's all said and done. Ladies and gentlemen, there's a short somewhere in this board in the palatial studios here at Fox Sports Radio Evansville. And I do apologize. But back to the story, the journalist in Ghana who exposed the soccer corruption was shot dead today. And let's try it this way. Nick Ruffalo, are you there here?
I am there.
We got you on the right line. We got a little bit of a short in our board, so we do appreciate you joining us here on Fox Sports Radio Evansville. I heard you might have some news you want to share here with the listeners tonight.
Yeah, and actually, this is the first time I'm actually announcing it to the public. So you guys have the inside scoop. But today is this will be my last day at 44 News. It's been a great 2 years, and I've made so many friends here. And if any of them are listening right now, thank you for being so nice to me. This whole community has been really nice to me. Unfortunately, there's always a time when you have to move on. I wish I could stay a little bit longer than early January or mid-January, but with the opportunity that it's not my opportunity, it's my girlfriend's opportunity. She found a job elsewhere, and so it makes more sense for us to move together. So I'm going to go out there with her and then hopefully find a job in the Pittsburgh area, which is where it'll be.
We're going to make you our new Pittsburgh affiliate here for Gameday IQ because we still want you to call in from time to time.
Yeah.
I'm always happy to call in. Sorry I was a little late calling in here today. I was just saying goodbye to some people.
So we interrupted your goodbyes over there.
So you're in the middle of the party, the goodbye party there, huh?
I don't know about party. I'm packing up the camera right now to go shoot some girls basketball up at Evansville North. So
well, let's
not too much time for parties.
It's been 2 years in this market here. Do you have like a top 5 most stories that you remember covering over there at 44?
In terms of just top 5 moments, obviously joining Gameday IQ is number one.
That is the right answer, ladies and gentlemen.
But in terms of stories, number one, I probably got to put the Challenger League going to the Little League World Series, getting to go out there with them and get to spend that weekend with them and get to see how happy the kids were and how proud the parents were of their kids for making it to the big stage. That was probably number one on my list. Another one that's, and I won't order these in tiers.
No, yeah, I mean, we don't have to number.
Some other big stories that I really enjoyed. As unfortunate as it was what happened to Evan Hendrickson, that Union County softball pitcher who had the line drive hit her in the face where she, I think she broke her orbital bone, but it ended up being a great thing in the long run because it helped change the rules for Kentucky softball. She was able to, help convince them to make it required for pitchers to wear face masks, and she was such a great person. She's still at Kentucky Wesley. It's not like she's gone very far, but she really helped make some change, and that was cool to see. After that, I'd probably say, one of the first stories I did here, or within the first few months, Boise softball won their first game in, I think, 7 years, whatever it was, back in. That was a really cool story, and to see how happy everyone was, and, to see a program that, is really trying to turn everything around, and it seems like they're going in the right direction, so that was a heartwarming story as well. Let's see, after that, I've done so many cool stories here.
Well, who is there like an iconic figure in the world of sports, whether it be local, regionally, nationally, that you cross path with during the past 2 years that kind of stands out through your coverage there at 44?
There's a lot of great local coaches. In terms of at the college level, you have a legend over at Oakland City and Dr. Mike Sandifar, and in high school you have Andy Hape, you have John Hurley, you have all these great high school coaches around here. But in terms of like, you know, maybe biggest person who also had a big impact on the sports world in general, you have, you know, Don Mattingly. Getting to meet him was probably, you know, one of the bigger highlights, and getting to talk with him, you know, with all of his charity events he does here, and from being from this area as well. And I think, you know, most people put Donnie pretty high up on their list of Evansville athletes, and it was really cool to be able to meet him.
So if, you know, you're heading to Pittsburgh, right, or in that area, when will you be, like, when will the formal day over there start for you? I mean, are we like less than a week away?
For my start day, I'm still, it's Jessica, that's her name, who has the job there. She starts on Monday.
Well, we all know. I'm saying, when do you have to be there?
When do I have to be there? Well, see, I don't have a job yet necessarily, but we do have to actually pack up the truck and leave tomorrow morning. So,
oh, wow.
Not much, you know, it's kind of, I've been working the last 2 days. We just got back from a vacation we had already planned.
Yeah, you were across the pond, right, last week?
Yeah, we were, we went on a cruise to the Caribbean. We went to Jamaica and Montego Bay. We went to Grand Cayman, the Cayman Islands, and then Cozumel, Mexico. So, I mean, it was nice to disconnect for a little bit. You don't really get any internet on the cruise ship, so, you know, it's kind of take a step back from everything. But at the same time, now we got to come back and try and pack up our life in a couple of days here, and then drive on down to Pittsburgh.
What is that, about a 10-hour drive?
I don't think it's that much. I think it's around 8 hours. I've been there once before. When she did the interview, we took a trip out there. I think it's about 8 hours, maybe a little bit more, 8.5. It's not as like, cause we drove to New Orleans to go on that cruise, so that one was a longer drive. That's like 10 hours. So it's about an hour and a half shorter than that. But I'll be driving the moving truck, so it'll be an interesting the next 24 hours.
Have you ever driven one of those before?
I have not, no. You know, I'm about as far from a CDL license as you can get. And,
so you got the truck just big enough, but not quite the CDL level.
Yeah, it's a 16-foot truck, or is it? Yeah, I think it's 16-foot.
Oh, you'll be fine.
Yeah, I mean, it's not like a semi truck. It's more like a, you know, something you see that they drive around for like the post office or something. Like, not that small, but like
box
you know,
truck.
it's a box truck. So it's something where it's small enough to be treated like a normal vehicle, but you know, big enough to house all of our stuff.
Yeah. Well, we are sorry to lose you from this area.
Well, we're not he's still going to be close.
You're not going to lose me.
Well,
yeah, come on, don't say goodbye unless there's something I don't know.
No, as far as your local reporting and stuff here locally, that's what we would. And you're going to be you're not done though yet. You're going somewhere tonight. You're going to be doing, what'd you say, girls basketball tonight?
Yeah, it's Forest Park at North girls basketball. I'll be leaving here in a little bit to go grab some of that. But yeah, I mean, I'm trying to do as much as I can, even on the very last day, because you know, this community's done a lot for me. So
like
I could do.
Your last day, do you get to pretty much do whatever you want there?
I mean, I think you know, I can't go full on anchorman, you know. But
well, yeah, that's what I was going to see if you're going to channel your inner Ron Burgundy.
Yeah, no, I mean, we don't live in San Diego, luckily, so I can't use that line. But, you know, I would never say that either. Evansville's been...
No. I'm not saying it like that. I meant just to be kind of funny and off the cuff, you know, as those news anchor. I didn't know if you all get together in those news anchor battles, you know, like they portray in those movies where you guys meet on a dark alley in Evansville at, like, between second and third shift and kind of settle all the scores, if you know what I mean. I didn't know if anything like that was happening.
Unfortunately, no, that doesn't happen. You know, after the bloodbath of '85, they stopped doing that.
I can tell you after you get on board with the station out there in Pittsburgh, one of the questions I'm going to have, one of the shows after you get some coverage out there, is if, you know, they always talk about the passion in Indiana high school sports, let alone the girls basketball and the boys basketball. You know, basketball is pretty much king in Indiana, and I just want to get a feel for how that stuff is played and covered out in like Pennsylvania versus the Hoosier state, because you hear these stories about Indiana basketball, and when you're immersed in it like Alan and I are, you don't know whether to believe it or not sometimes. And it'd be very interesting to see how the fan bases react to high school sports in general in the greater Pittsburgh area versus back here in southwestern Indiana.
Yeah, and I mean, I love with Jessica as a producer at the station, I'll get an inside scoop as to how much high school coverage they do over there. But, you know, just in general, I have a feeling that if I go to any local sporting events or anything like that, and if I'm talking to the fans there, I'll probably once or twice say, well, back in Indiana, it was pretty cool with what we had with basketball there. I don't think anybody's going to top Indiana basketball, but I mean, I guess I can give Pittsburgh its fair chance.
Do you have any inside information on the football games to be played this weekend, the big NFC and AFC championship games?
Probably going to ask me for like information on Antonio Brown or something. Like I'm not even in Pittsburgh yet. I don't know that stuff.
I kind of stay away from him because I'm just, if I'm an NFL general manager, you know, if Chris Cooke was given the keys to one of these 32 teams, and I don't care how much cap space I had and how much of a roster need I needed, there is no way I am going anywhere near Antonio Brown to bring him on my roster. And I mean, that's strong. Alan, are you in agreement?
Why are you?
Because of the way he's treated the Pittsburgh Steelers and the stuff he's put on social media. He's a tremendous talent. Tremendous talent. But I just don't want that sideshow associated in this hypothetical world where I'm the general manager of an NFL team. I don't want that kind of sideshow, regardless of the talent level of the individual, anywhere near the team that I'm trying to build.
Well, I'll play golf on Sunday.
You'll play golf. Alan just gave us his answer there that he's not interested. But so don't give us any Antonio Brown stories when you do call in a couple weeks from Pittsburgh as our affiliate of the Mid-Atlantic region here on Game Day IQ. But, of course, you know, we appreciate that you've been a part of this show ever since we've been on air at Fox Sports Radio, and we appreciate the guidance and the coverage at the local level that you brought with some of the stories that kind of, one of the charges we have here at Game Day IQ week in and week out is we try to bring the listeners a little bit of a story that they might not have heard in the mainstream sports world, and then we back that with a backbone of solid local coverage. And the way you guys cover local sports over there, 44, is just something that's a pinnacle to try to achieve. The lack of, or not the lack, but the attention to detail, and the fact that you do go out there and find the stories that other guys might not be covering. It really came out in both your and JoJo's work, and it's going to be sorely missed here in the Evansville market, and I hope that void is filled very quickly as we get into a 2019 sports season.
And the biggest, kind of mantra that I had going into it, and, you know, I still feel the same way now, is that no matter if a team is, 34-0 or they haven't won a game in 5 or 6 years, whatever the case is, there's always something special about a team, no matter who it is, no matter what level it is. And so, I did my best to try and cover as many teams as possible and to, visit every corner of the tri-state so that way I could really show the people, maybe who are outside that area, how special that team is, or, how cool sports in that area are, or something to where, try and cover places that people haven't covered before or don't normally cover, because everybody deserves to have their time in the spotlight, and every organization, every team has a special player or a special coach or something that's worth talking about, and so that's what I always tried to do while I was here.
And I think you've done it well, and I hope that you continue on in that journey. And if there's anything Alan Buck or myself or the listeners here at Game Day IQ can do to help you as you transition into that new role in the greater Pittsburgh metropolitan area, we'd gladly be of service, because, we need good young sports reporters such as yourself that aren't just these, what I like to call drive-by sports media folks that just kind of look by, look at the story, glance over it. They might throw a little bit of powdered sugar on it and try to pass it off on social media as hard-hitting journalism. And, we need to get back to telling the story behind the story and really get at the root of what's right, especially in sports. Because in this day of shock media, it seems like, we're more worried with the Antonio Browns of the world than actually who's putting in work and who's doing positive things both on and off the court.
Mm-hmm. No,
am I preaching now? And am I getting on the rocking? Do I earn my rocking chair here? I just turned 43 yesterday, so in Alan Buck's world, I've reached some mythical level of old manness.
Oh yeah,
that I crossed a threshold there yesterday. So I've kind of transitioned out of what is that, apprenticeship to what? Am I a journeyman yet? Or
yeah, you're an old man in training, but you're getting close.
I'm getting close. Let me tell you some of the off-air comments. I hope I'm getting close, but
there's no shame in being as old as Alan Buck, because that doesn't mean you're getting older. It just means you have as much experience.
No, I mean I'm not talking about
Coach Buck, and that's pretty hard to match. So
he actually, I can tell you, Alan Buck over the past 10 years we've been broadcasting, actually almost going on 11 now. I've learned so much, especially about the sport of basketball, because when we first started doing the coverage, we leaned heavily on the football. But then the first year we did football, they're like, well, can you do basketball? I come from the background, you never say no when you're wanting a job. It's like, absolutely, we can do basketball. And after we took the opportunity, I look at Alan, I'm like, Alan, I don't know a blank thing about basketball. I can call what's going on, and I know how to. It was funny because early on, 10 years ago, when Alan and I would do a basketball game on the radio, I still put my football terminology into the games that we do to this day. It's one of my unique, traits I feel that I bring to the broadcast. But you would have thought you were watching a football game during the basketball coverage if you listen to some of the stuff. I mean, how many times did I call it a quarter or they're going to kick off?
Yeah, it's always an opening kickoff. We have never had a tip-off of a basketball game yet.
It took me like about by the time we would get to sectionals, I would start calling it a tip-off, and it's just like I had this tick in my head that I couldn't get away. But, we're at the top of the hour, Nick. Sincerely, we want to thank you. We wish both you and her well as you leave our market, and you've always got a welcome spot here in Evansville. And if there's anything Alan Buck or myself or the listenership here at Fox Sports Radio 106.7 and AM 1280 or AM 1590 can do, definitely let us know.
Yeah, Nick.
And I truly go ahead, Alan.
Well, I was just going to say, talents like and the slant that you bring to the stories that you brought to the air is just that's something that you don't find out there. So Evansville is going to really miss you, and we're losing a good one. So sorry to see you go, and like you said, we'll look forward to talking to you down the road. We can monitor your progress in Pittsburgh, and wish you the best of luck. And it's Pittsburgh's gain.
And I tell you, we'll give you a call here in a couple of weeks, and we'll gladly have you on as our Pittsburgh affiliate here on Gameday IQ. But, Nick, have a safe journey. Thanks for joining us over these past few shows.
Hey, I truly appreciate you guys and everything you guys have done for me. You guys have been awesome. I don't think I'm that special myself, but I appreciate all the kind words, and I'll do my best to keep trying to be the best I can be in Pittsburgh. I look forward to hearing you guys soon.
Appreciate it. Nick Ruffalo, a final time here until he moves to Pittsburgh from 44 Blitz, a wonderful gentleman and scholar. Alan Buck, we've had a heck of a show. Steve Risley, Nick Ruffalo. We talked about chocolate fountains at Golden Corral. You had to go there. I'm not going to get. Yeah. I was just. You know how many years of treatment I had to go through?
Do you know how many people out there in listener land thought, I didn't think I'd hear anything about chocolate fountains on tonight's show.
Especially in Golden Corrals in Michigan. You just never know what tangent we're going to go on. But it would be even scarier if the fact these stories were true, that we were just making this stuff up. But when you actually, these are based on true events, we're not sitting around making this stuff up randomly. Alan, in the final 30 seconds, do you have anything else to add here?
Well, I'm just still beside myself that Nick, I kind of knew. I knew he was leaving. But first of all, that we got to announce the scoop, or he announced the scoop on our show. That was an honor and a privilege, and it's been an honor and a privilege to have him. And,
absolutely.
I was very serious. I'm sorry to see him go for the sake of Evansville and what he brought to the table. So, with that, I'll just pass it back to you and say good night to all good sports.
For Alan Buck, I'm Chris Cooke, thanking you for listening to this week's edition of Gameday IQ. Until next Thursday, Fox Sports Radio Evansville.